Fred here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. In this episode we will be taking a look at the Sheffield gun multi-tool, so stay tuned. Earlier today I was walking around Walmart looking at those end caps where they have all the specials. They had mostly the $20 specials where they had Gerbers, they had a couple of SOG machetes with a weird tonneau kind of thing with a saw on the back. They had they did have some Kershaw like a week or two ago, and those are gone because people know the good buys. And I think out of everything there with the Gerbers and everything, the Kershaws were probably the best deal. It was two tactical looking knives with a flashlight for $20, and those were pretty decent. There was a couple of bucks. Most of them I wouldn't even touch except for the one that had the Stockman in it, so it had the more classic looking two knives in a tin. Also, there were the Winchesters. The Winchesters were $5. These are like almost not even adequate for a stocking stuffer. But there was one there that looked like it would have been made good. But I picked it up and looked really close, and it was a frame lock. And that frame lock looks like it was all the way pressing up against the other side inside where there was no room for wear. So it probably would have, after a little bit of use, gotten loose. So anyway, I decided, well, I guess I'm not getting anything, and I started to head out, and then in the middle of the store there was a freestanding island of crap, and they had these Sheffield knives. Now usually I'm not even going to touch a Sheffield knife because they've been generally crap in my opinion, but they had one called the Gun Multi-Tool, and that looked really interesting because this could be something you just throw in your range bag. So you have a sort of a throwaway knife in your range bag. It also comes with a whole bunch of bits, so you end up with a selection of 8 different heads there that, if it can fit like the Allen screws on the mount for your whatever. if it can fit something and you got it there and it's handy, it's worth the $10 at this cost. So, Sheffield, they do make some decent cheap multi-tools though. The all-purpose multi-tools. Those are not too bad. I had picked this up a couple of months ago by Sheffield, and I'm not going to review this now, but this will be an upcoming review. I want to be able to take this outside and beat the crap out of it and see if it's, as badass as it looks. But it's like snowing and rainy, and I'm a fair weather outdoorsman. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and remove the tip protector. Hopefully I won't stab myself without the tip protector. Again, this is a Sheffield. It's a company that makes a lot of tools, and it's owned by a company called Great Neck, and I think they own some other names also. But rest assured, the Sheffield stuff here is all made in China. I don't even think it says China on here. I think China's embarrassed to put their name on it. Okay, I digress. Anyway, we got the knife. We also have all these bits here. They give you a Phillips, large and small. I'm going to set that aside as I call these out. You get a Torx bit with a T15 and T20. You get a Allen or hex, which is 1/8 and 3/16. And we get a flathead, small and large, a 3/16 and a 1/4 inch. So they're okay. Now this, again, they're pitching this as a gun tool. I have my scope here, and I notice, I have Allen screws in here, or hex screws, whatever you want to call them. They don't fit my rings, unfortunately. So don't assume that just because they call this a gun tool that the bit is going to fit whatever stuff you bring to the range. So you might have to slide a different bit. These are standard bits. Excuse me. So you could put the bits that you need into here, not necessarily the ones that came with it. So the knife is fairly ordinary except for the handle, which is really wide so it can hold the bits. So what you do is you just take the bits, you take a bit of the bits and you slide them in there. And whoa, you saw that? I nearly stabbed my hand. And you could just pop them out just like that. So you push this in like that. Tell you what, when you're putting these in, close the knife. Don't do what I did because I'm an idiot. Let's see, we'll go ahead and turn this around. And I noticed that this little slidey thing here, it sort of rests in the middle naturally. You could feel where the middle is, if that makes any sense. Alright, so when you're taking these in and out, close the knife. I just don't want to close it right now in the middle of the review. But there you go. So if you need it, you could just pop them out just like that. And if you want to use it, let's go ahead. You know what? I should have done this at the beginning. But you know what? Lessons learned. So you all know what not to do. You take this and you can see that on the end here, there is a bit holder. This would also make a decent glass breaker also. But you just pop this in and then you can use it. And actually it's pretty comfortable because it's so wide like that. It's actually not that weirdly wordly, whatever. So I'll go ahead and pop that back in there. So let's look at the knife. Now the knife itself is anodized aluminum in the handle with these plastic bit holders, which is just cheap plastic. And of course you got the little bit thing to turn it. Whoops, you saw that? This just fell out. See, so that's not good either. You know what? Look. Okay, so we lose a point off the review right there. Crap falls out. It doesn't hold, and they're supposed to be like spring-loaded. I can see a little springy thing here, and that just fell out. So maybe I didn't have it back far enough. Let's give it one more chance. Make sure I have it in there real good. Alright, so if it gets banged around, bits are going to fall out. Alright, let's go ahead and get the knife out. Oh, come on, you can do it. It's way too tight. Anyway, obviously it's a tonneau blade. Has a black coating of some sort. Probably not very good. I'm only assuming though. This is partially serrated. Serrations are nothing to write home about. It is not extremely a thick blade or anything like that. I could look inside here and see that the washers are just plastic or probably Teflon washers. No steel or nothing like that. We have a thin liner lock right there. Lockup appears to be right in the middle. Right there. So that's okay. Any up and down play? No. Any side to side play? No. Dual thumb studs. This is completely ambidextrous, by the way. There's no clip or anything like that. There's no room for a clip if you wanted one anyway. And it's pretty comfortable, again, because the handle is so wide. It actually is a pretty comfortable knife. And it doesn't weigh that much considering how much stuff is on here. Because all this stuff that's adding, making this bulky is all just cheap, light plastic. Let's see, how big is the blade? Does my notes here even say that? It does not. So let's go ahead and get a knife. No, a ruler. Yeah, get a ruler, and it looks like it is about the usable part of the knife is 3 inches right there. You can see where I'm measuring right from where the shoulder ends and the blade edge starts, and it's right at about 3 inches. If you want to measure like all the way back to the handle, it's about 3 1/4. All depends on where you want to consider where the blade starts. You got a little false wedge up here, and really that's it. You got a pivot screw that you can adjust with a Allen I'm sorry, with a Torx screw. I wonder if the Torx that comes with this, one that fell out, actually fits the pivot screw. Nope. And it looks like the aluminum handle here looks like it's held together with also some really small Torx in there, and you can see you have some standoffs or pillows right there, pillow design right there. Actually, there's only one, and then you have this bit holder here in the back, which sort of keeps the back of the handle stabilized and separated. Again, liner lock. Alright, so let's see, what else can we do? Well, before I go pounding this into a piece of wood, let's see if it cuts paper okay. I do happen to have some paper, and we can see if it came sharp. So that's pretty good. Did I do that in camera? I don't even know if I... Alright, so it's adequately sharp. It's not super sharp. It's a little rough cutting, but it does cut paper okay. Let's see, here's some wood. I'm going to go ahead and stab this into the wood and rock it back and forth to see if the tip breaks. You can see I got that in there really good. And let's see, go ahead and pound it again, split it. Alright, let's see if the tip held together, and it did. Okay, so some of you might already be saying, you know, Fred, you're being too hard on this. Well, I saved the worst for last for a change. Okay, here's the little magnetic holder for the bits, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here. And this particular one, it's not even fitting in there right. It's not fitting in there at all. Alright, well that one sort of fits in there, but look at this. I mean, this is all the way in. Okay, now it's being held magnetically, but it's not in deep enough. They didn't make this metal piece long enough to support the bit. Because, you know, it needs to go in about that far, but it's only going in that far. And this is not, just to show you, that's not the only bit that's doing it. Here's another one. This is a tool company that made this. This should be embarrassing. So this is $10 from the bargain bin at Walmart, or whatever they call those cardboard islands in the middle of the aisles as you're walking. It's junk. It's $10. So is it useful? I don't know. If you're doing Secret Santa in work and you got somebody that you don't like, because I don't recommend this. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, but I don't really recommend it. I mean, it's a junker. Oh, look at that. It flipped open. Cool. I mean, at least the knife has good solid lockup, and it comes sharp enough to cut paper. There's the testament. But, and it actually is surprisingly comfortable for what it is, but it's not something that it's not an everyday carry, obviously. And, you know, it's just something that you can throw in your car's glove compartment, or I'm having a hard time imagining this as a gun tool, just because it has bits. Surprisingly enough, even the blade centering is very good. It does have some redeeming qualities here and there, but you know, and actually the blade stop back here, you know, where the blade comes back to the back of the blade comes to rest, is actually pretty beefy too. So again, it's a hit and miss, redeeming qualities, and then total failure as far as this whole crap, which is its whole selling point. And by the way, on the box it says it has a 3.5-inch blade, so I don't know where they're measuring that from. So they call Torx screws star screws because they look like stars. This is a tool company. Anyway, alright, I digress. Thank you very much for joining me here in the Gear Session channel. I really appreciate every friend, viewer, subscriber, and you. And I hope you have a great evening. Take care. Bye.